Let's get started. So first off, thank you so much everyone for joining us today. I know today's time's a little bit different than our normal regular webinar, so thank you so much for making the time to join us. This is our series, Navigating Northern, and like I said, it is a weekly webinar series, normally on Wednesdays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., but today we're starting at 1:30. And this is designed to provide you with answers to questions about topics that you need to know. So like I said, today is special because not only are we talking about money, but we're talking about online scholarships, bursaries, and awards. So a super important topic that we hope you guys learn a lot about today. It is going to be quite a unique layout. Normally we start with a Q&A session, but today we are actually going to give the reins over to our panelists, and they're kind of going to take the show a little bit. So we will start with an introduction, and then we will have a presentation. Next, we will have a live demonstration of the bursary applications, and then we will hear from Nicole as well about bursaries. And lastly, we will open it up to questions from viewers. So like Sumit said, if you do have a question, please feel free to send that in the chat function below. Sumit will be monitoring those, and we will get back to those when we do have the question section. I think also we had talked about potentially answering questions throughout the webinar as well. As everyone still wanting to do that? Okay, yeah, so if you do have a question that pertains particularly to what we're actually talking about in that moment, please send it in and we will answer those right then and there. So another thing that just a few housekeeping things, this is being recorded. So for those of you that aren't able to join live with us today, that will be available for you on our website to check out later. Okay, so let's start and do a roundtable introduction. Let us know who you are, the position you hold at the college, and how our students would benefit from the work that you do. I will start. So my name is Kara, and I am the host of today's webinar, sort of. But on the normal time, I am the liaison and recruitment officer for the Southern Ontario region. Why is my role important? Well, I would be your first point of contact out in the community. So Sumit and I travel around quite a bit. I mean, not this year, but quite a bit normally to all the high schools, community events, whatever. We're there to meet you and tell you all about Northern College. And that's my role. Go ahead, Sumit.
And I'm Sumit Swami, the same counterpart. She does the Southern Ontario part. I do the Northern Ontario part. I'm being called the favorite recruiter on the Northern side by myself all the time. So I would claim that, I would take that, I'll take the crown. But again, it's important to you guys because every time when you want to know about the college programs, what we offer, what are the community, everything, we are always there. So wherever you are, we are there. So if it's in your phone, if it's in an event, it's your high school, wherever, you always go out, we travel a lot, and we talk to you guys, and you guys make it a very, very fun job to have because usually I've seen everything in Ontario. There's no place that I haven't seen yet, unless there's no road. So.
Okay, great. Next we'll go to Nicole. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm the development officer here at Northern College, based out of the Timmins campus. However, I do work with all campuses. Very fortunate to work with all these lovely ladies and Sumit. So particularly for the conversation today, I wear multiple hats, and we all do in our roles. But for the conversation today, I'm connected to the scholarships, bursaries, and awards portfolio in my role, in that it's my responsibility to do some community outreach. I liaise with a lot of external partners, potential donors, individuals who have an interest in investing in our scholarships, bursaries, and awards programs. So whether it be through straight up donations that they want to give, put forward, whether it's through events that we host here on campus or in the community, those funds are redirected, not all the time, but sometimes to the scholarships, bursaries, and awards portfolio. So my job is to work with those donors and to establish the criteria around what those bursaries look like, who they're for, when they're to be awarded, all that fun stuff, and just to keep a good communication with the actual donor moving forward from there. So it's great. Love what I do.
Perfect. Thank you, Nicole. Let's go with Emelina.
Hi, I'm Emelina. I'm the president of the Northern College Student Association for the Haileybury campus. I'm also a student, just like all of you. So what we do is we plan student events, and we are your point of contact for student benefits. And today I'm going to show you what it's like to apply as a student.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Let's go with Tina.
So Tina Poirier-Peller, and I'm Financial Aid Officer at the Timmins campus, and I'm here to help all the students that have any questions at the Timmins campus regarding OSAP or bursaries.
Awesome. Short and sweet. I love it. Okay. Tyler Ann.
Hey everyone. So I wear a couple different hats. I'm a student life advisor and financial aid officer here on campus. And that's what we're here to talk to you about today. So I will be your point of contact for all students studying here in Kirkland Lake or via distance through our CK programs for all things OSAP related, bursaries, scholarships, etc. So I'm your point of contact here in KL.
Awesome. Okay. And last but not least, Annette. And then if you want to continue on into your presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kara. Yes, so my name is Annette Rondo. I also, as many of my counterparts today, have several different roles at the Haileybury campus. Probably one of the biggest roles that I have under my portfolio is a financial aid officer, and that's certainly why I am going to be speaking to you today. So we are going to go ahead with our presentation. Just bear with me 1 second while I pull up the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, perfect. So here we go. We've done our introduction. So this is a little bit more of the roles that I have on campus. So probably a familiar face or a familiar voice as we are presenting a little bit differently these days. So that is a contact that you can reach me at. So all of the financial aid officers have a similar email address. So FAO, the campus, and then at northern.on.ca. So this is for the Haileybury campus. Tyler Ann, as we've met, and her email address as well, her contact. And of course, Tina at the Timmins campus. I would like to do a little mention. Susan is our new director of marketing. Under her portfolio, Susan supports the foundations department in their role in creating for our students. And as Nicole has explained a little bit, it is an important role and really very important in ensuring. So as Northern College staff, we understand all too well that the lack of financial resources can be a real barrier to post-secondary education, and that financial stressors are real challenges for students working to achieve academic success. And this is certainly why we're presenting to you today. We really want to highlight some of the financial resources that are available to our Northern College students. Cole said there's to make sure that we have financial resources in place for our students so that they can achieve their academic and career goals. I do want to do a quick mention about OSAP. So Ontario Student Assistance Program. I strongly recommend that all eligible students apply for OSAP. There have been a lot of changes to the OSAP application process, and now students are now able to accept grants only and deny any loans, or of course, accept both. So there's lots of options, and we will always, as financial aid officers, probably one of our first questions we will ask students who are inquiring about financial resources is OSAP. Lots of changes, so really recommend that everybody apply for OSAP. And the good news is it's not actually too late. To note though, it will be prorated. So your assessment will be based on the day that you submit your application. So it's still not too late to apply for OSAP. I strongly recommend everybody at least apply and see what you may be eligible for, because again, it is a great financial resource. So just a quick definition. So oftentimes people will ask me the difference between a scholarship and a bursary. So a scholarship, very simply, is usually merit-based, so based on some type of achievement, whereas a bursary is usually financial need-based. So you'll see that's why in the application you're asked to complete a budget. So definitely we need to establish financial need for some of the bursaries that you will be applying for. So that's it, just really quickly in a nutshell. next one. So we're going to look at the money that we have available for our Northern College students. So you had a little introduction to Emelina. Emelina is our wonderful NCSA Haileybury campus president, and she goes above and beyond in all that she does. Today she's going to demonstrate for us from a student perspective how to apply. So we're going to walk through each screen, and she's going to enter information. I want it to be really clear that Emelina today is just entering fictitious numbers just to help and to kind of demonstrate how to apply. And Emelina's an expert. She has been through this process before, so she knows very well some of the ins and outs of applying for bursaries. So she's going to be a great asset to us today. So thank you for joining us, Emelina, and taking this on. I know you have a busy schedule. So why we're here applying, why we're here applying for Northern College bursaries. So this is the website that you go to initially. Okay. We have over $250,000 available college-wide. So for all of our campuses. So the Moosonee campus, Timmins campus, Kirkland Lake campus, and Haileybury campus. So there is financial resources available to our students. I want to highlight as well that this is free money. So the awards that you're going to be applying for today are free. You don't have to pay them back. You don't have to make arrangements to pay the donors back. This is free money. This is awarded to you and will help you achieve your academic goals. One thing that's really, really important, one of the very first things that you're going to have to do, if your social insurance number is not registered with student services, you will have to provide that to student services at the campus where you are registered. Okay, so it's one of the very first things that you will have to enter. So if your social insurance number is not already in our system, you will have to visit student services and give them that information before you can proceed. So it's one of the very first things that you need to do. So you may want to check that before you actually start your application and make sure that they have the necessary information. Okay. So if Emelina would like to share her screen now, does that work, Emelina?
Yeah, I'm just 1 second here. Pull it up.
So we will see what the actual application screens look like as you go through them.
So from clicking on the Northern College website, you can learn more, which brings you to this screen. Then from here,
So where she's highlighting there, this is where you have to click to access the platform to apply for your bursaries. So that hyperlink that says online application here will take you to the platform to log.
you'll log in using your student ID, and then you'll get brought to this page, which is where you can start inputting your information. So I believe the top is information that's from the college because it doesn't let me edit it. And then as I go down, it gives me more options. So you can just select, go through, and just answer the questions.
And as Emelina is doing that, I am going to point out that it is very important that you complete each field. If there's missing information, because we get so many applicants, we can't always follow up with applications that were incomplete. So if it's incomplete or incorrect, we won't be able to follow up with you to get the correct information. So it's really important that you take your time and go slowly and make sure that you complete all of the fields and complete them accurately. This is an important part that Emelina is working on right now. Sometimes students, when they apply, will skip over this, but it is important to complete all fields.
So I myself am in the vet tech program. So when I got to this question, I wrote like my stethoscope or things like that that I had to purchase in order to do my program, but that would be specific to you. So definitely make sure to to take note of it. Don't just skip past it.
This section that Emmeline is on now is also very, very important, and we do read each one of these. So the information that you provide in this field is very important because it gives us a little snapshot of some of the barriers or the stressors that you're experiencing in your life that the financial assistance would help. So this part is very important.
I have a question from Laura, and she's asking, in that option where where you have a requirement, can she put in laptop because of COVID? Everybody would need a laptop, or an expenses related to that online option. Is it okay to put it in there or no?
Well, we generally, because we have a BYOD policy, so bring your own device, it is a requirement for most of the programs, all students applying, to have an appropriate laptop for their studies. So we recognize that each student has had to put the cost out for that. So it wouldn't be an exceptional expense. It would be something that we would expect all students to have to purchase.
Okay. And is it okay to ask one more question? As the page is going on, they're asking questions, so I just kind of try to do it online.
Absolutely.
So Constant is asking that, do you count yourself in the other children supported by your parents, or?
No, just other than yourself.
Other than yourself. Okay, perfect.
Are we okay to continue to the next page?
And just again, reiterating, make sure that you give us a little snapshot of some of the things, the barriers that you have in your life, that how these awards would help.
Okay.
Definitely. When I did my application, I had a full, almost a full 760 probably characters. I did a big explanation of what I do in my personal life, as well as in my schooling, that makes it a little bit difficult for me to possibly work, or things like that, so that they can get a snapshot of what I do and why I do require the financial assistance. So then we just have the yes or no. So these ones are pretty good, nice and easy, but just make sure you read them carefully.
And sometimes these questions may seem a little odd to you, but what they are is they're usually criteria for awards that we have. So we know what the criteria is for most of the awards. So this is why these questions are as they are, because we're trying to determine whether or not you meet the criteria for each one of the awards. So it is important that you complete them, and it is important that you complete them accurately. Sometimes what we'll see is, I think there was one question up there, it mentions, are you over the age of 19? So there is some awards that are based for returning learners. So if we see that you've said yes, but then that doesn't correspond with your age, of course, we know that that's inconsistent. So just make sure that you're really consistent and accurate with all of your responses.
Definitely take the time to read them all, because I know some of them seem really similar or seem like the same thing, but I'll have different answers for them. So just definitely read them closely. And there's no shame in going back to look at them again. And, I assume everybody would know whether they're a part-time or full-time student in that.
Yes, I'll just make a comment there as well. So if you are a student that's registered with Accessibility Services and one of your accommodations is a reduced course load, for the purposes of this application, you're not considered to be studying on a part-time basis. And generally what we say is students that are studying below a 60% course load are studying on a part-time basis. So in order to be considered for full-time studies, it's 60% or higher.
Are we okay to move to the next one? Any questions about these?
No, I don't see any questions coming out for this one, but Laura mentioned that, so about the courses over and above your regular course load due to COVID, we are doing a placement on top of our normal course load. So does it count or it doesn't count?
You may what they could do, there's not an actual field, I don't think, for that question, but what she could do is include that in the little caption that we saw earlier about just giving a little brief outline of themselves and their current situation.
Okay, so she can write it down in the explanation section that required like 760 letters or something like that, that she's doing that or extra course, but she has to check no on this page, right? And then just mention it over there.
Right, because she would be actually full-time. That's correct.
Okay, perfect.
This is the really fun budget part, but it's really important to sit down and take the time to look at your budget, not only just for the purpose of this application, but also just so you have a better idea of where you stand financially. I hadn't really thought about it until I sat down and looked at this, and it made it a lot easier to plan for the year once I had this in front of me.
Emelina, I would like to give you a big clap right now. Thank you for that. You're absolutely correct. So it is important to be very careful when completing this budget, but you're absolutely right. It is a tool that will be very, very helpful, not only in your academic life, not only with being a student, but in your entire life. So budgeting is a very, very important skill. So certainly important to start some of those habits now. So you're right, this is actually a very useful tool, and not just for applying for bursaries, but for life, for sure. One of those great life skills to have.
And I also find it's really handy when you're looking at this before you start your application to have your OSAP forms in front of you and maybe your T4 or something that you had if you were working previously, because these numbers, you want them to be accurate to reflect what's going on. So I'll always have my OSAP forms right in front of me. Right now I'm just making up numbers. But you have your OSAP forms in front of you telling you how much you're actually getting. And it's split between the provincial loan and the bursary or grants. So make sure that you put those separately. It'll be outlined on the sheet that OSAP sent to you.
Yeah, those are very important points, Emelina, for sure. The more information you have with you, it'll be easier to go through this, go through the screens.
So I have a couple of questions that came up in this page. The first one is, do we include the CESB in summer income?
Yes, you will have to, yes.
And
Would that go under government income or summer income?
I would put that under government income, because you'll see EI, so that's usually employment insurance or employment benefits, so that would fit in that category. So under government income if you received CERB.
And there's a question where it asks whether you live with your parents. I'll be living with my parents for first semester. So do I answer yes or no?
You can yes, because you can redo the application for second semester when you're applying for second semester bursaries. But I would say as of right now, maybe you can comment on that, Annette, but I think as of this semester.
Mm-hmm. And then Ashley said something very funny. She said, I filled this out and cried a bit.
I've been there, Ashley. I get it.
We feel your pain, Ashley, and that's why we're doing this, to help students out for sure. There's this great saying, you get what you measure. So once you start looking at your numbers and you're aware of the amount that it's going to that you're going to need to get through school, you know, it's really interesting because I actually do a budgeting workshop for students as well. Wearing my financial aid hat, we sometimes do a budgeting workshop in the fall semester, and it is really important to recognize what your education is going to cost you. I always give the analogy, you would never go to a parking lot or a car lot and say, I want that car, and never ask how much it costs. And you would never go and purchase a house and never ask how much it costs. But so many of us never sit down and ask, what is our education actually going to cost us per year? So this is where you get to have a real good snapshot and a really good idea of what it will cost you. So it is really important. And yes, sometimes it is a little painful, but a necessary evil. So it is something that will serve you well, and you will have a really good handle on what it's going to cost you and what are your financial resources. So really quick formula that actually OSAP uses as well. And the very, very basic form is going to look at what are your educational costs minus your financial resources, and that's kind of your assessment. So you need to know those things as a student, whether or not you're applying for OSAP or not. You need to know what your education is going to cost you, and you need to know what financial resources or money you have available to cover those costs. How are you going to get through? How are you going to pay all the expenses while you're a student? So definitely a very, very important section.
And does a car include an asset?
And no.
Yeah, actually it's a liability, even though no matter how
Yes.
you.
There's kind of a long history there. So years ago on the OSAP application, we did have to claim it. Students did have to claim it as an asset, but no longer.
Oh, that's a good change.
Yes, and we do know in Northern Ontario that it is very, under normal circumstances, sometimes we really do rely heavily on our vehicles as different, we don't have the same types of public transportation that they do in the larger cities, so.
Mhm. So I have a question. It's a little bit complicated, so I'm going to try to explain as good as I can. This is from Anna, and she says, when it comes to spouse's salary part, I'm separated, so all I get is the spousal and child support. That covers my monthly expenses, so I'm not sure where to put that.
That would come under income.
Okay, so that would
From
be
the government.
Well, if it's spousal support, it would be summer income, May 1st to July 31st, because if it's coming from your spouse, it would be considered income and not government income.
So it is coming from her spouse though,
That's right. So it would
They're
be
separated.
but they're separated.
right. So it would be under her summer income because it is part of her income that she receives. And that's kind of how it works on the OSAP system as well.
And then just to show you how this all works, these are all made up numbers, so you don't have to cry with these numbers, but as you're going through, this calculates what your income would be. So I have my total income. Then as you go down, I have all my expenses, and it shows me where I'm at. So thankfully this isn't real because I would not be able to survive with the numbers that I used, but it shows you kind of where you're at, where your income compared to your expenses. Which can, so obviously we know if you have financial need, and also helps you with your budgeting.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Emelina. And just going back to that question, Sumit, about the spousal income or spousal support, certainly that would be really important to include that you are like a parent and you have dependent and children have additional expenses. So that would certainly be important to put that in your little story as well.
I have one more question. And it talks about, I got EI, but I have to maybe return it. Should I write it here somewhere, or it's okay not to even mention it?
If you have received it, I would enter it.
Enter it, okay. Even though he has to return it.
Yes, until the money is actually returned.
Okay.
And the other issue with that is that you will be T4'd for it in this year.
Okay.
But again, that's something that you could explain in the in that field as well.
So those 760 letters are more important because anything that is kind of a little bit tricky on this, they can write it down over there, right?
That's right. It is very important. Yes. So anything that doesn't quite fit in to the application or anything that's a little bit unusual or extraordinary, definitely put that in that section.
And I just want to make sure that this is different from OSAP, right, Annette? The government loan section?
No, that is from that is OSAP, because if you had to make repayments, so if you are like a returning student, maybe you've studied in previous years and are still making loan payments.
Okay. Good to know.
Let me see before we go to another page if there are any questions that I'm missing.
Okay. trying to go back. It's just, there we go.
So there is a question from Laura again. She says, for Canada or student loans, do we give a total or just this year's? I think just this year's, eh?
Just the current year, that's correct. Emelina, can you just scroll back? I just wanted to show something. Yes, I just want to point this out here as well. So if you notice, it says ×8. So when we're doing this particular budget, it's based on your academic year. So 8 months, the 4 months of the fall semester and the 4 months of the winter semester. So it is important that's ×8 because we're looking at your academic year as opposed to like the entire year.
And you can, if that's not like that, you can change it at the beginning length of academic year, if it's not already put in as 8. Ready to move to the next page?
Let me see. Does local transportation only include to and from school, like monthly gas or insurance cost or things like that? I think yes, right?
Yes.
And that will be all for this page.
Right. So if you live if you have a significant travel to your home, you could include that in other expenses. This year is a little bit different. Most people aren't traveling. Most people are studying from home, but that's something to consider for other applications.
Perfect. This page is done. No questions, I see.
So this gives you the actual list of things that you qualify for. I have noticed that sometimes I still don't qualify for some of the ones that pop up. So what I do is I go through, you can click them, I go right in order and read them all. And you can read the descriptions to see if you qualify for that particular award or bursary. And it gives you information about whether it's the online application, if there's an external application, if there's something else that's involved in doing. So if I qualified for this, I would hit apply for bursary. I hope this doesn't mess up the system. And now it disappears from here and it comes up in the awards I've applied for, so you don't apply for them twice. I'm gonna try to find one. This one here, I believe, has an external. Yeah, so there's a form that you have to fill out. So it tells you in the background information whether there's more involved or whether it was just that click of a button. So you can download the forms needed if there's extra involved. And you might go, oh, extra work, I don't have time for that. But really, it's so worth it to get free money for the few minutes it takes you to fill out these forms. Even if you don't get a bursary this year, it's worth putting the effort in.
Thank you, Emelina. A very good point, absolutely. Sometimes it is a little bit of extra work, but it can be definitely worth the while to have the financial support. And one of the things that I want to mention about here, and Emelina is absolutely correct. So you see that there's this link. So there is an additional form that you have to complete for some of the awards. It's imperative that you do this extra step. So once again, because we receive so many applications, we can't necessarily follow up with each student to make sure that they've completed all of the steps of the award. So this is a really good example where perhaps 20 people apply, but only one person has actually completed all of the necessary information. So, and perhaps that will be the recipient because all of the information is completed correctly. So it is important, make sure that you follow each step and complete each stage that is required.
And there's also information on how to submit those extra forms here as well. So for this one, it's an email, the form in once it's completed. And you would also click apply for bursary as well.
Sorry, can I just add that under the currently available awards, that's not all the bursaries that you are eligible for. Those are all the bursaries that are open to apply for.
Oh.
Specifically, and they're connected to the campus.
Yes, but just because they're listed there, you have to read what the criteria is to see if you actually, that if you fall in that criteria to apply to it. You can apply to it, but you may not qualify based on what the criteria is.
Mm-hmm.
And you do have to click on each one of these, because this is another thing. Sometimes when we get the downloaded sheets, you need to click on each award that you feel that you are eligible for. Thank you, Tina.
Yeah, and you can tell, like, when I did my fake application here, I did not select that I was an Indigenous student, but it gives me that option. So definitely read them to make sure that you qualify before you're applying. Time is valuable, so don't apply for things if it's not meant for you.
Emelina, can you just click on the first, do you see the first year, first generation? Is that there somewhere?
It's the first one.
Oh, yep, sorry.
So you'll see, and just click on the highlight for the additional. So this is another one that requires an additional form to be completed. Both of these awards, the Ontario First Generation Bursary and the Indigenous Entrance Bursary, are connected to usually a significant amount of funding. So definitely important that you complete it. And you'll see here is another budget. You do have to complete the budget, even though you've completed it on the online application. So you do have to complete it, and they should correspond as well, because we look at those types of things as well. So make sure the information that you've added is accurate and it corresponds with your other budgets as well.
And when we're submitting to the financial aid officer, obviously we can't walk in anymore. So we would just email whoever was the officer for your campus. So if you're from Haileybury, it would be Annette, Kirkland Lake would be Ty, and Timmins would be Tina, right?
Correct. But Nicole, we do have those the bursary application emails as well, correct?
Yes, so you guys all have those generic emails attached to your campus inbox.
It's helpful too, if you don't know your GPA from your previous year, you can find it on your My Northern account. When you look at your, I believe it's your no, maybe it's not the registration. But when you look under your account, you can find your GPA.
So while we are on this page, I have a longer list of questions from a student. But what I did, I sent you an email about it, copying the student in that email. But the first two questions seems like very broader, and we can talk about it in this webinar. So the first question says, I'd like to know if it's appropriate to apply for every bursary that I think I'm eligible for. And I think the answer should be yes, right?
Correct. As long as you think you meet the criteria, you can click it off. Sometimes we ask that you don't just click off all of the awards and hope for the best. We ask that you take the time and really look to see whether or not you meet the criteria of that award.
Mm-hmm. And the other one says that I don't have any, but I would like to know if any academic infractions would affect the eligibility for my bursaries.
The short answer of that is yes. So depending on the criteria of the award. So I'm just thinking of one off the top of my head where it actually, I think student assistance, or maybe, let me just here. Some of them, let me just see, Ontario Student Opportunity Bursary. Click on that one. Right at the very bottom, Emelina, the very last one.
Thank you.
So this one, the criteria is be enrolled in second year of a post-secondary program. Demonstrate academic success. So if you failed a couple of semesters, that's probably not a good demonstration of academic success. So it can be black and white, and sometimes it can be a little bit gray. I would say still apply for bursaries for sure, but just know that sometimes that may, you may be ineligible based on that. Is that clear? Is that enough? Does that answer the question? And
Constance kind of adds a little bit saying that our GPA is strict. Let's say if you need 3.0 GPA, and if you are only missing out by 0.01 point, maybe, for example, will that make it, would that make it not eligible because of just that minor, GPA difference?
Right. So we would have to look at each one on an individual basis for sure.
Mm-hmm. And she said that there is a little bit of more clarification needed on the last answer that you answered, that she says because you can still have academic success but have been caught cheating once. So let's say if you have that kind of infractions, how would that be dealt, with comes to bursaries and other stuff?
Okay, so kind of two different questions. So academic success is you're right. It's a little bit more gray. Where we saw one other award, it said your GPA must be over 2.7. Well, that's very clear, and you're right. Academic success is a little bit more gray. But what I can tell you is that we don't have, when we're going through these applications, we do not have access to any academic integrity infractions. So we wouldn't know that information.
Okay.
But we do have access to GPAs.
So I think Laura is getting it now because she said, okay.
Let me know if that wasn't clear enough.
Yes, I think it was clear for her now. Yes. So there were some other questions that were sent by her, but I sent you guys an email about it. So whenever you guys have time, you can take your time because already we are almost like 2:23 right now. So I thought it would be a much better idea to email you guys,
Perfect. And maybe we can move on to the next screen then, Emelina.
So it logs you out as soon as you apply, so that you know that you're done.
Oh, shoots. Yeah. Okay. So there was that pop-up. So you'll know that it was completed successfully, correct? So when you hit submit, Emelina, it just mentioned that it was successfully submitted, correct?
Yeah, it doesn't let me go back. But yeah, so it says successfully submitted, and I think it says it's received by the college, so that you can confirm that it's all good to go. And it tells you it's going to log you out so that you know you're done.
Okay. Any questions about those screens?
Nothing for now. I have one question that relates to international. I'll just mention that there are some of the students who are asking for bursaries and scholarships for international students who are studying from India because of COVID-19 situation. Maybe if Nicole Gingra can talk about it a little bit, if there is anything that is she's been planning on, or if there is Northern College keeping up something like that on that avenue.
So right now, the students are encouraged to look at this list of online scholarships, bursaries, and awards that are available. There aren't very many. We're not going to lie about that. However, I wanted to reiterate to all the students that just because this list that you see, there doesn't seem to be very many that you qualify for, rest assured that these are not the only bursaries that we have here at Northern College. So what we talked about today are the online bursaries and awards and scholarships. But we have other ones that we offer to our students that are nomination based. So what that means is these are all available to our students, but do not require you to apply to them. So how that works is your faculty and the staff of the college will select based on the criteria that was preset by the donor. And then what we do is we work with them, the internal department's faculty, to select the appropriate recipients for those bursaries. So how you can get selected for those, stand out from the crowd, help your classmates, make it to class, try your hardest, do good things, share what you've been doing in the community, your involvement on and off campus, so your campus community, your external communities. So all of those bursaries are available as well, just you don't need to apply to them. Now, we're currently working on expanding the bursaries that are offered to international students. So stay tuned for more communication that will be coming out on that.
So all they have to do is just keep an eye on the Blackboard or My Student Portal, because there will be something coming up and then they would know and there will be updates, right?
That's correct. So as soon as we have some of that information finalized, we will be sharing that appropriately through our channels here at the college, whether it be through the student email, through Blackboard, but we'll make sure that it gets to the student.
So international students, what happens is that there are certain bursaries that are being offered by Ontario government. So as you were never lived here and you are coming from different grades, some of them you're not eligible, but there are some which you are eligible. And Northern College is working on some more that will make you eligible to apply for more. So even though it doesn't matter if you're studying from Canada, if you're studying from India, keep an eye out on your Blackboard, on your student portal. And as soon as you feel like this is something that I can be eligible, just apply, because that would be the best way for you to get into the pool, and you might get selected and you might get a bursary for that. So that is the best way to go for now. As far as the OSAP application that we did, that was Ontario Student, I don't know.
Assistance program?
Exactly. So that was the one that was for Ontario residents. As you are not Ontario resident again, you won't be eligible for that, because even when I came in as a student, I was not eligible too, because we haven't spent our time here to be a resident of Ontario. We are still resident of maybe Punjab or India or wherever you're coming from. So you won't be eligible for that. But again, there are other bursaries, which always helps international students to kind of take the load off a little bit. But your best bet for now is the banks from India, especially the government-run banks. So State Bank of India, State Bank of Punjab, or Bank of Baroda, that is very good in our province. So those are the banks that will give you very cheaper rate because you're studying internationally. They have lesser interest rate, easy applications process and everything. So that will also help you. So that will be all the financial helps that you can get in order to finish your studies over here without lesser, hassle to go through and, have that money ready for your studies.
Annette, I just wanted to jump in if I can for one quick second. I know that was supposed to follow, but I think it fits with the conversation and the question that was posed here by international students. And if I could just take a moment to talk about how they can kind of do a search for external bursaries that are offered to them. Do you mind if I just speak to that topic?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because I think that is fitting right now. So we were talking about the online bursaries that we offer here that we kind of walked you through today. And then we talked about, I just elaborate a little bit about the nomination-based bursaries. So again, you don't need to apply to them, but there are also a large amount of external bursaries that are offered to students, regardless of your geography. These bursaries are set up by different organizations, different businesses, different companies, different not-for-profits, and they are not managed by Northern College. So you are free to kind of do a search on the web and kind of search based on your program or your interests or your status, and to see what comes up in that search that you may be able to apply to. So for example, if you are a technology student and you're in India or you're in Toronto or you're in Sault Ste. Marie, you can just do a random search on the internet to say, bursaries or scholarships available in Canada or in Ontario or whatever, how you want to narrow down your search for your particular status. And those will come up, and then you do like you do with our bursaries. You have to read, step by step what you need to do, what you need to fill out, what you need to complete. But just know that those bursaries are not connected to Northern College, right? So that's why they are called external bursaries. Where we began the application, where you saw all the information on how to access the platform, there is also a tab on the left-hand side of that scholarships, bursaries, and awards page, and it says external bursaries. So if you click on that link, so when they're shared with us, we populate them on our website for you to take a look at and consider applying.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Nicole. So that is really important. And not all the awards that are available are listed under external bursaries on the Northern College website. Sometimes it means a little bit digging. One of the things I always suggest as well, speak to your parents, speak to your guardians, speak to your spouses. Sometimes workplaces will have bursaries for students of employees, spouses of employees, those types of things. So be really creative and do some digging. It's amazing some of the awards that are available. So I've had some really creative students that have found some great bursaries that we weren't even aware of, but that are not connected to the college. So the more you dig, the better it'll be. Just really quickly, I know we have to wrap up. Everybody has to leave. A great big shout out to Emelina. She did an amazing job. Thank you so much. It's always really important to have a student perspective and have that student expertise. So we're really appreciative of Emelina's time. A couple of things. So the online application closes September 30th. So you have till September 30th to submit your application. We will go through this entire process again in January, and some of those awards will be different. So I encourage students to apply every time. Don't be discouraged if you apply and you don't receive an award right off the bat. It doesn't mean that we haven't considered your application. It really depends on how many applications we receive, and we look at the students that most closely meet the criteria of each award. So please keep applying, apply. So make sure you get your online application in for the fall semester by September 30th. Because of COVID-19, our health and safety procedures, we will not be having an actual in-person bursary ceremony. So if you are a recipient of an award, you'll receive an email through your Northern College email address. So we always reiterate, make sure you're always checking your Northern College email. So that's how recipients will be notified. It will be onto your student account. If you have any semester outstanding fees, the award will be applied directly to your outstanding fees for that semester. Otherwise, you will be mailed your award. So just given the COVID-19, we won't actually have an in-person bursary presentation. So again, once again, if you have any questions, please reach out to the FAO at your campus. We are accessible through our emails that we've shared with you today. I want to send a huge thank you to the team that put this together. Kara and Sumit, thank you so much for being patient and entertaining us and allowing us to share this information with students. We think that it's really important to help students meet their academic goals. So thank you so very much. And thank you to the students that you have attended. We really appreciate your time, and we really appreciate that you're taking that step in your own academic success.
Okay, so I think that pretty much wraps up our webinar. We want to thank each of you. I know there's only 6 of you currently on, but thank you so much everyone for joining us today. I hope that you learned a lot. I know myself, I learned quite a bit. So I really appreciate you all making the time. I mean, nothing's better than free money. So take advantage of that. This will be posted, like I had mentioned, on our website. So give us some time. And for those of you that want to go back through and just go over more closely, that will be posted for you. Thank you to all the panelists for your time as well. Also, if you do have any questions, Sumit and I are available for virtual appointments. So please take advantage of that. You can book those through our website, and we'll see you next week, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Take care, everybody.